Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel after so long. After so long, I have decided to make a video which is on a very crucial topic and also a topic which will actually help in getting jobs, especially the software domains. So the video is on how to ace coding interviews or how to get better at coding. So when I get many queries from students and from everyone about how to get better at coding or how to improvise in coding. So, keeping all their doubts in mind and address their questions, I have decided to make this video today in which I'll be covering on how you could some of the strategies and my tips on how you could actually better yourself at coding. So, let's get started. This is a very precise video and it covers the most important tips and the steps that will help you in order to get better at coding. So these are some of my points I've jotted on how to get better at coding. So when you ask me about coding, the first and the foremost question which anyone would get in their mind is what is the first programming language which is the first programming language to begin with, also which programming language we should adhere to while coding or we should follow during coding. So I would say that you can actually go with any kind of coding language, so be it Java, C++, C or Python. Just stick to one coding programming language, get better at it. When I say get better at it, go into the depth of it, like understanding the core fundamentals of how the coding language works, how you could use it to optimize, especially when I say optimize, how you could actually solve a problem in less time and consuming less memory space. That is very important when I say optimize your code. So when I talk about what kind of programming language or which programming language you should begin with, I would suggest you could actually stick with any of your programming language of your choice and get better at the data structures and algorithms of that programming language. So personally I started my coding journey from 11th grade. So I had studied Java as my first programming language, and then even in my college, since the first year of my college, I had stuck with Java. So I'm very good at the data structures and algorithms with Java, but it need not be the case for everyone. So some people might be good at C++, C. So when you keep the coding interviews in mind, the coding interviews would not look at what programming language you are using. Even if you're using Python, you should not make assumptions that Python is a slow language and so on. Of course, when you compare programming languages, there are few differences, features which some programming language might not have as compared to the others, or which they have. Like Python, although it is an interpreted language, by the way, but it is slower as compared to Java, JavaScript, so on. But Python especially is used and booming for AI ML domains, for data science, especially for good projects. So even for web development these days, there are a lot of Python frameworks coming in. So when you talk about coding in general, it's not just about, you don't stick yourself with just data structures and algorithms. Coding is such a language which can actually help you to build products, because end goal of anything is to build products, build good projects, which when you're actually working in the company. But then in order to get into the company or to clear interviews, I would say that get better at data structures and algorithms and stick to a coding language, a programming language of your choice. To get better at it, there are a few steps which I have just enlisted here. I will go step by step, covering each and every doubt which you might have. So the first and the foremost doubt I've cleared. You can go with any type of programming language of your choice and get better at the DSA, object oriented. When I say DSA is data structures and algorithms, then object oriented programming and the core fundamentals of it. So coding is a skill that requires constant practice and improvement, as we all know. And whether you're a beginner or an experienced programmer, there's always ways to improve your coding skills, is what I believe. So when you talk about coding versus programming, there are some of these differences which come in as well. People often confuse programming with coding. No, coding does not only involve just coding or making websites and then code front end, back end, HTML, CSS. No, it's not just like that. Coding does involve a lot of other aspects as well. To name a few, there is technical documentation which has to be done. Although in the preliminary stage you don't require each and every step of your code to be documented, but as you get better at it, adding comments to your code will actually make it more readable, concise, and more easier for you even to understand in a comprehensive fashion. So even especially in work tech companies, technical documentation has become standard. In fact, to write industry level code, you need to add comments to your code so that other person who's actually reading your code or working in the same software team or the project becomes very easy for them to actually understand or interpret your code. So have the practice of writing comments. So coding comes with debugging as well. It's not just writing code, you have to also debug your code. When I say debug, it's nothing but testing your codes against any errors. So there's very unlikely that all codes are almost error free. So in order to ensure that a code is error free, you need to debug it, or because there is bound to happen that you might miss semicolon, or there are many errors which might occur. So when I talk about errors, they are just they can either be syntax errors, they can be semantics errors, logic errors, and logic errors can be based on the improper assumptions you make about the problem statement. So be it any programming language, see, you're actually solving a problem. So be it any problem, be a mathematical problem or strings problem, any data structure problem, you're actually using coding as a medium to solve that problem, and you're actually applying data structure, you're actually using data structures and applying algorithms to solve that problem. So when I say about coding and programming, I've just told you that debugging also becomes a part of your coding, and that's what makes it special. And coding along with debugging, documentation, and also to write error-free code, testing it several times. When I say testing, there are again various types of testing at the high level, like unit testing, functional testing, and so on. But when you're actually testing your code, test your code against each edge cases and corner cases as well. So when you're testing, again, there's a set of test cases. You might be aware of coding platforms like CodeChef, Leetcode, Hackerrank, and so on, because if you're a coder, you should be aware of those platforms. So there's a certain number of test cases to be passed. The first two test cases especially will be the corner cases or the edge cases. You have to keep them in mind, and we make your code in such a way, you should write the code in such a way that they actually pass the edge cases, the corner test cases as well. So moving on to the steps which can actually help you in getting better at coding and optimize your coding skills and writing your code in such a way that it takes less time and space complexity. So practice regularly. It goes without saying that you have to, the more you code and the more you practice on various coding platforms, like I've already mentioned, Hackerrank, GeeksForGeeks, CodeChef, Codeforces, Leetcode. There are a number of coding platforms, right? And again, Hackerearth. So when you practice that is where you can consistently improve yourself at coding. So definitely practice is one day. Set a target for yourself that even if if you're not able to, it's not like you have to spend hours coding, but even if it beat 1 or 2 hours, make a practice of coding at least 1 to 2 hours every day, so that it becomes a routine for you. And the more it's like mathematics, I would say, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So that's it. Coming to read code written by others. So I would say that another strategy which can help you actually get better or writing better codes is to read the code written by others. Read others as in the software developers who are actually working in companies, or well written codes which has actually passed various test cases, someone who's working in your software team. The more you read codes written by others, the better you'll be able to understand. So it is, by written by other programmers, it can help you to learn new technologies, techniques, and approaches to problem solving. This is very, very, very important, I would say. When I, in my even my previous videos of coding, when I was just taking any coding problem and one or two coding problems, I was explaining you the different approaches. I started with the most basic approach and then went to the advanced approach. Definitely, there's not just one way to solve a coding problem. There are various approaches. So try out different approaches. You might think that in a thought process that this is a coding problem and can be solved in one approach, but some other programmer might have a different approach to it. Might use, when I say approach, they might use different logic, or they might even use a different data structure or an algorithm to solve the same coding problem. A same coding problem can either be solved with stacks, or it can also be solved with simple arrays. So, the better, whichever is the most optimized code, that is the one which you have to actually go with in the industry level standards. But to begin with, try with the basic or the naive approach. So when I say the naive approach, the for loops, even if they're taking, nested for loops, they're taking more and more time complexity and space complexity. So that is where, I would say that start with the naive or the basic approach, and then later delve into the advanced approaches as well. So that is where read code written by others, so that you can understand what are the different approaches which actually exist to solve a particular coding problem. Then you can find open source projects on sites like GitHub or Bitbucket. This is very important because GitHub is, we're gaining momentum these days, and all the projects, open source contributions are actually uploaded and pushed to GitHub and even Bitbucket. So you can actually have a look at the code, the way it is structured, the way it is optimized by different developers and programmers to gain a better understanding of coding. Comes next, which is take on challenging projects. This goes without saying, and I would highly emphasize you to work on projects. This being my personal experience, I would say that, definitely you can code on various coding platforms, Hackerrank, Leetcode for your daily practice and for getting better at problem solving. But then when you work on actual real project, when you work on challenging project, not exactly an industry level project which actually needs deployment, production, not like that, but a project with, even if it be your personal project, when you are using software development, there you understand the software development life cycle. So when you're taking a project, a personal coding project, which is a little bit involving concepts like different back end, front end concepts, when you're talking in terms of full stack web development, or if you talk in terms of just plain Java programming, Python programming, just build a logic around it, build different functions, encapsulate all of them. When I say encapsulate, you're writing different functions, you have to encapsulate them so that you can serve them on the production level. So that is where you can also incorporate the principles of object-oriented programming, wrapping them up and so on, wrapping the different modules. So this will help you push your limits and learn new skills. So that is why I actually highly recommend on taking challenging projects. I would, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments. But meanwhile, I'll just explain each and every point over here, and I will try to give you a very elaborate, my point of view, my elaborate point of view for each of the point mentioned here, which can actually help you to get better at coding. So when I say learn from your mistakes are a natural part. It goes without saying that it's a natural part of the learning process. So you will be making a lot of mistakes when you're actually coding. You might come across various kinds of errors, but then the more mistakes you make, it actually helps you. I would say that because when you are actually making mistakes, the point comes in the debugging. You're actually debugging your code, and when you're actually debugging your code, you're looking for errors, and on solving the errors, you actually understand it. Retains in your memory for a longer time that why that mistake or that error actually took place. So when you make a mistake, take the time to understand what went wrong and improvise, so that improvise on the coding, so the next time you can go with a better approach. Then attend coding events. Coding events like hackathons are the best, I would say. Hackathons or coding meetups that can help you to learn from other programmers and get feedback on your code. Now, see, code reviews is one very, very important aspect, I would say, to get better at coding. Always get your code reviewed by other team members or your programmers, because they are the best critics, I would say, the best supporters as well. But they will actually help you in identifying how to, what are the common discrepancies in your code, or where your code can actually improve. So take their suggestions, incorporate that into your coding, and then that can help you in actually writing a better code. Coming to the second last topic, which is get feedback on your code. So this is again the same. Get code reviews, identify areas of improvement, new techniques and approaches. The main thing is thought process. Your thought process should be there. And next, now also see this thought process, everything will actually help you in working and getting a better code. But when you get into an interview, actually, the interviewer is going to actually ask you to also explain your thought process. So there, your communication skills come into picture. You have written a well-optimized code. You should be able to clearly explain each and every line of your code, or at least how the approach is. So when you are not able to explain the approach of your code, there is, there is no chance of your code passing. It does not even convey that you have actually understood what you have coded, because whatever you have coded, you should be able to actually explain it. So that one thing you should keep in mind, that along with coding, communication is the key to acing any interview. Then stay up to date with new technologies. Coding is an ever evolving field. There are a lot of technologies every day evolving, a lot of tech stacks coming in, advancements. So you have to always keep up to date with the latest industry trends. Not only the industry trends, but the latest new tech stacks, technologies, and the programming languages to stay relevant and improve your coding skills by implementing the above tips, whichever I have told you right now. You can improve your coding skills and become a better programmer. It definitely will take a lot of dedication, hard work, time, but to become it will actually help you to become proficient at coding, is what I would conclude saying it. So that was all about about how to get better at coding. It all boils down to your practice, dedication. Of course, if you are stuck anywhere, then you can refer to YouTube videos online, because there are many, and you can also refer to different documentations. The more you read, of course, documentation reading is a very boring process. I would say it's a mundane task, but then the more you read documentation, more you read how exactly a project is working, reads other programmers' codes, the better you get at understanding or getting a clear picture out of it. And even if you're in platforms like GeeksForGeeks, Leetcodes, do even look out at the how other solutions are. There is a solution section where the answers uploaded by various other programmers also uploaded. So do have a look at that, because that will actually help you to widen your horizon, to actually widen your thought process, because you might be thinking on one way, but that other person will give us another approach. So you'll get different ideas, creative problem solving will happen, right? But it's not like you have to, even if you're not able to understand their approach and you're more comfortable with your approach, so then go ahead with your approach. The main end goal should be that you should be solving the problem. Problem should be solved. And if you're stuck anywhere, do refer to sites, tutorials, and all. But with practice and with time, I would definitely say that you will get better at coding, and it would not feel like you're always perfect at coding. You can't always claim that you are perfect in coding there, because there are different challenges. If you talk about data structures and algorithms, there are various advanced levels like graphs, DFS, BFS. There are even advanced concepts and topics which it takes time to master, like tries and all. So do not expect yourself to be proficient in DSA. There will always be new problems and challenges, but when you solve the most prominent patterns of any coding problem, that will give you an overview. So that was all about it from my side. I hope I have given an elaborate overview about how to get better at coding with my personal suggestions and tips. So if you find the video helpful, do share and like on my video. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay tuned for more interesting and useful videos. Thank you very much.